Yo, beautiful folks, what is up and how are you doing? This is your favorite struggling R&B producer, Valentine the Plug, live from the Danger Room, and we are cooking up some late night R&B. I got a sample, homemade, all the way from scratch. Well, not entirely, but still, most part, all the way from scratch that I want to break down with y'all and, of course, turn into a dope late night beat. The kind of beat that you'll be playing when you in your ride on your way to that booty call. You feel me? So, y'all sit tight and enjoy the preview, and I'm going to hit you up with the breakdown. Alright, beautiful people, welcome back into FL Studio. As y'all can see in the playlist, I am working with a consolidated track. I'm working with two chord patterns, and I'm working with a chopped up guitar sample, another guitar sample, and another guitar sample, all three which are from Splice. So allow me to break down the chords for y'all first. We're starting off with a G minor 7th, and we're landing on an A dominant 7 chord. Try and keep up. Then we're landing on an A augmented 7th chord, which you can actually also read as an A altered dominant 7th chord, but more on that in a little bit. So then I land again on an inverted G minor 7 chord, and it lands on a D minor chord. Cycles back to the beginning. Why? Well, this is the first, and this cycles back nicely to the fourth, the subdominant, which usually comes before the dominant. Now then, G minor 7 again, A dominant 7 chord, A augmented 7th, aka A altered dominant 7th, D minor 7th chord, D minor triad, and lands on an A diminished chord. Alright, so real quick, let's talk about these two chords because it'll show you the importance of messing around with raising the pitches or lowering the pitches by 1/2 step of the notes in your chord. So y'all know that the 5th degree in the minor scale is actually supposed to be a minor chord. However, if we take this C, which is the 3rd in the A minor chord, and we raise it by 1 semitone, we actually get a dominant chord. So what if I were to take these two and I would actually go and raise my 5th as well? Well, that would give me an augmented chord. And the entire practice of, raising and lowering your 3rds, your 5ths, your 9s, your 13s, your 11s is actually called alteration. So this constitutes as an altered 7th chord because, well, if I were to lower all of these, I would get my regular schmegular A minor 7 chord. So that's, that explains why sometimes people use the word altered interchangeably. Sometimes they also just use raised 3rd, sharp 5, and stuff like that. But that's something that you'll find out if you delve just a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of chord theory. So the sounds that I'm currently using is I got like 3 instances of Contact for some reason, but the sounds that I'm currently using are the Gentleman, of course, one of my go-to pianos in Contact, sounds like this. Then I have Glaze, of course. And I've got another instance of Contact providing me with a vocal sample, but that's actually already in the consolidated track. But originally it sounds So that's what we're working with today. So combining all of these gave me a very airy and vibey kind of sample. It's kind of hazy, definitely late night kind of vibe, because basically at this point everything that's kind of hazy or wavy, that's cloudy, that's really muddy in terms of frequencies, but that's also has a lot of tension in its chord progressions, which makes you feel like you're experiencing something that constitutes as a late night vibe nowadays. And you know, the term is very broad. It's very hard to just reduce it to its bare essentials, but a lot of it is, you know, in the processing and a little bit in the sound selection, but mostly in the feel that you create through the use of chords, minor chords, dominant chords, augmented chords, and diminished chords. So all kind of chords that have this cool little tension. That's your late night vibe. So let's look at my processing of this sample a little bit. A lot of it is actually very apparent and easily hearable, such as Cymatics Origin, which is downsampling my sample, and a little bit of grit through the reel, and the saturation, of course, turn that up just a little bit. Shaper box is actually one of the most apparent effects, because that's what's causing that tremolo effect, where it fades in and out like in rapid succession, kind of like this. That's easily what gives a lot of the sample its flavor. Choral and flare, of course. I'm not using phases for change, I'm using a flanger for change. And I'm gonna turn up the mix just so it's a lot more apparent now. And then you hear a very, very subtle instance of crystallizer. Let me turn it off. Does give it a little bit of a nice little tail end so that it is not too dry. Now, as you can see here, I actually have a chopped up guitar sample, which sounds like this. And here you can see the processing that I use. So I use pretty hefty multi-band compression. I think I actually can lay off on a multi-band compression a little bit. I use the Waves vocal doubler, and I pitch down both of the voices. I use choral and phases. That's basically it, and that's why it sounds like this right now. Alright, so let's get ourselves an 808. Let's get this shit. Let's get this shit. Let's get this shit. Let's get this shit. So honestly, this is the single most vanilla 808 pattern ever. I went to my piano pattern just so I can make sure that my 808s correspond with the root notes of the chords, since that is the most basic way to just lay down an 808 pattern. always works. Of course, you can try and challenge yourself, try new endeavors, but this usually works. I try to make sure that it always matches with the kick, in the sense that when you have your kick hitting on the first beat of the bar, I want my 808 to hit as well, especially since I'm just using basic long sustained notes, not doing anything special. I don't really mind. But you can actually see that here I actually have my kick hitting multiple times in the same bar. So that kind of gives me a lot of space to do interesting things, like time the 808 notes with the second kick. So let's see what happens. So before we continue, yes, I did play with a pitch. Yes, I did pitch it up back to its original pitch because I was not able to choose. And honestly, it does sound good this way. So we're back again in the key of D minor after having gone down to C minor, going up to C sharp minor, dropping back down, and eventually decided, fuck it, we're going for D minor. So with the addition of some vocal samples that I got off of Splice, these are the chops that I'm using, so you can see that what the kit's from. This is the beat, and I kind of think that I am done. I think, yeah. But let me just arrange this, because it really needs to be done. The work is done. Okay, so just right now, you may or may not have noticed that the guitar isn't exactly on beat, and I kind of like it this way. I do feel that swing is a very underrated element in beats, and often, just one element being off beat is just perfect enough to attract the listener's attention. It may stick out like a sore thumb in some instances where you really need to be on beat, but a guitar player being a little bit off beat at some points makes it a lot more organic, makes it a lot more raw, and I like that rawness. Because we're electronic musicians, we have the power to make everything on beat, everything on key, and those little details, in Dutch we say schoonheidsfoutjes, which roughly translates to beauty mistakes. Those little things that you really don't need to change because they are additions rather than distractions, they're amazing. So beautiful folks, there really isn't much else for me left to do. This was a pretty to the point cook up where I already had the chords. I just needed to lay down the drums, and I just felt like explaining some stuff to you. I believe in the power of repetition. I don't sit here and pretend like every video is going to be different, because I do have my routine. But with each video, I come across new insights, and that's why I just keep on making these videos, to share those new insights with you, because one video might provide something that you may have missed in the other video, and that's why I'm super thankful for everybody that just keeps tuning in. I would not be here without y'all. We're almost at 1,500 subscribers. I feel that is an achievement for me, so many thanks to all of y'all, and that's why I hope to see y'all in the next video. Y'all be easy, beautiful folks. Peace.